Ever since my first video attempting to rebalance every charm in Hollow Knight, you folks have been asking for one thing and one thing only: custom charm synergies. I don't know why you have such an obsession with those, but I'm happy to be able to say that today is the day we finally cut to the chase. I'm Holland, and this is Custom Charm Synergies. Let me be completely transparent for a moment. I think charm synergies are potentially quite dangerous. It's not that I don't like them per se, but they do pose a problem. Let's say you add a custom synergy between Shaman Stone and Spell Twister. When combined, Spell Twister increases the power of Shaman Stone just slightly. That's kinda cool, but here's the issue. You are already incentivized to use those charms together because they're both pretty powerful and they naturally synergize, even without having a unique synergistic effect. And that's the issue. Charm synergies are cool, but making them too powerful softly forces players into having to use specific charms together. And that works completely counter to the idea of having a diverse build variety, which is something I value highly. But that doesn't mean we can't have synergies. On the contrary, think of the opposite case, where two charms don't work very well together. Like Joni's Blessing and Deep Focus. You would never put those two in the same build unless they had a specific synergy. Wink wink, nod nod. Finally, I'll have to base these synergies on my rebalanced versions of the Hollow Knight charms. Link below. With all that in mind, let's get into the first custom synergy. Let's start off with a cool one. Combining Shaman Stone with Quick Focus decreases the casting time of spells by 30%. Now you might be thinking, Holland, both Shaman Stone and Quick Focus are great charms. Why do they need a synergy? Well, sure, they're great charms on their own, and it's not like you can't use them together effectively, but they do subtly counterweigh each other. Here's why. Shaman Stone wants you to use your soul on spells, while Quick Focus wants you to use your soul on healing. And every time you do one over the other, you're effectively giving up value from the other charm. Shaman Stone and Quick Focus essentially work against each other. As such, I think it would make a lot of sense to give these charms a specific synergy. You could potentially even do this with more than just Quick Focus. For example, adding a synergy between Shaman Stone and Deep Focus. However, we have to be careful of adding too many synergies in one area, since we could accidentally cause a second-hand synergy between Quick Focus and Deep Focus, with Shaman Stone as the intermediary. Anyway, moving on. I think you might like this next one. Combining Fury of the Fallen with Lifeblood Heart or Lifeblood Core will cause the Lifeblood Hearts to appear only once you reach one mask. Currently, if you want to use Fury of the Fallen, it seems almost counterproductive to then also equip a Lifeblood charm, given that it extends the time it takes for you to activate Fury. People have been suggesting for a while now that Lifeblood charms should trigger only once you get down to one mask, and I think doing this through a synergy makes a lot of sense. Obviously, this would only happen once before you sat on a bench again, but all in all, I think this synergy would be a great way to make Fury more accessible. Here comes another healing-related synergy. Combining Spore Shroom with Hiveblood will cause Spore Shroom to trigger each time Hiveblood restores a mask. This creates a cool dynamic where you're essentially sending out shockwaves of noxious gas without having to do anything. See how much cooler some charm combos get once you add a quick synergy? I love it. Before we get to more juicy charm combos, I have to inform you that this week I'm uploading a scripted, fully edited Hollow Knight video every day for 7 days straight, and that you should totally consider subscribing right now so you don't miss any of these exciting uploads. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much. Now back to the synergies. Time for a controversial one. Combining Quick Slash with Nailmaster's Glory will cause nail arts to charge even faster. How much faster, I don't know, but enough to make it noticeable when playing. Again, I understand that both of these charms are already quite strong on their own, but think about it. If you're using both Quick Slash and Nailmaster's Glory, you have to choose between gaining value from one charm or the other, and that makes them kind of an unfortunate pairing. With this synergy, you might start seeing common folks using nail arts a lot more than we currently do. The next one, I'm surprised, isn't already in the game. If you haven't seen my charm rebalancing videos, I've changed both Stalwart Shell and Carefree Melody pretty significantly. All you need to know is that both of them now give you a shield on a timer. Again, if you want to know more, click the link in the description. Combining Grubsong and Stalwart Shell, or Carefree Melody, allows Grubsong to grant you soul when the shield is broken. Yep, that's it. Pretty self-explanatory, really. If your shield gets hit, it's counted as if you got hit. Makes for a fun, albeit very slow, method of safely gathering soul. You could also make this effect apply to Baldur Shell, although I'm not quite sure I would advise that, given how in my updated version of the charm, finishing a heal automatically restores every charge of the Baldur Shell. So if blocking also gave you soul, you might end up in a bit of an endless cycle of invulnerability. Building off of the previous synergy, this next one you might not even know worked the way it does, but apparently Thorns of Agony triggers even through shields. However, while that's awesome, it's a little uninspired in my opinion. So how about this? Combining Baldur Shell and Thorns of Agony will add high damaging spikes to the outside of the shell. So instead of adding a synergy, we're changing one to be a little more interesting than it currently is. Just imagine the Baldur Shell sprite having tiny spikes covering it as you focus, and as soon as an enemy touches the shield, bam, they take a bunch of damage. Now, if Thorns of Agony already works with Baldur Shell, you might think applying the spikes directly to the shield is kind of a nerf to the synergy, because you effectively just decrease the range of the thorns. So, how about we increase the damage of the spiked shield in order to compensate? And get this, if the enemy that touches the shield is slain in the process, your focus is not broken. Now you're officially a walking, spiky fortress. Once again, we turn to a charm that I have already changed quite significantly. Glowing Womb. All I did originally was remove the soul cost of the hatchling spawning, but in part 5 of the series, I decided to instead make the hatchlings appear only while using focus, but at a much faster rate. So given that Glowing Womb is now a focused-based charm, it becomes less effective to run alongside a charm like Flukenest. Again, this is the same problem that I tried to address with the synergy between Shaman Stone and Quick Focus, which is that using spell and focus-based charms together doesn't make a whole lot of logistical sense. You want to spend your limited soul on something, and if you choose spells over healing or vice versa, you're essentially always leaving one of your charms to do nothing. Which is why I think this synergy would be kind of awesome. Combining Flukenest and Glowing Womb replaces the flukes that spawn when casting Vengeful Spirit with hatchlings. It's such an obviously cool interaction that I'm almost surprised it's not already in the game. Flukenest spawning hatchlings instead of flukes when combined with Glowing Womb. How many hatchlings should be spawned is a question of balance, but enough to where the total damage output is higher than without Glowing Womb. And for those of you who still haven't watched the rebalancing series, you should know that I consider any Flukenest shenanigans fixed, so each hitbox can only apply one damage tick before disappearing. Now we get to probably the most important synergy consideration of the entire video. Joni's Blessing and any charm that improves your ability to heal with focus. So that includes Quick Focus, Deep Focus and Hiveblood, which are all completely useless when using Joni's Blessing. Now listen, I get that's the point, not being able to heal when using Joni's Blessing. And that's fine if you aren't using any healing-based charms. When it's just a limit on one of your core abilities, it's a fun gimmick with which I see no issue. But when it comes to charms that boost your healing, you may have a problem. Because either you'll just have to concede that those charms should never be used in conjunction with Joni's Blessing, which is fair enough, or you say screw it and try to make every charm viable in combination with every other charm. And given that this is a synergy video, I think we have to at least try to make the impossible happen and give you a reason to combine Joni's Blessing with Quick Focus, Deep Focus, or Hiveblood. For those wondering why I'm only including those three in the discussion, it's because charms like Spore, Shroom, and Baldur Shell do still technically work with Joni's Blessing, because you can still use focus. Now, it took a while to come up with a synergy to address this issue, but here it is. Combining Joni's Blessing with Quick Focus, Deep Focus, or Hiveblood adds a new special bar to the bottom of your mask row. Every time you complete a focus action, this bar is filled up slightly. Once the bar reaches full capacity, it overflows and each of your masks are fully restored no matter your current health. Quick Focus makes the bar progress while using focus instead of only once you finish the heal. Deep Focus makes each completed focus action progress the bar significantly more. And finally, Hiveblood makes the bar tick up automatically over time at a slow pace, although never over the edge, allowing you to always have full control over exactly when the overflow triggers. Wow, that was a bit of a mouthful. Again, if you don't want Joni's Blessing to do anything when combined with these charms, that's totally fine, and I can understand why you think this might be a little much. But if you do want them to work together, I tell ya, it's damn hard to come up with a solution that both makes sense and stays true to Joni's Blessing's current effect. If you have a better idea for how Joni's Blessing might interact with these charms, I'd love to hear it. Anyway, that was a tangent. For the synergy I came up with, I don't know, I kinda like it. You could sneak in a heal here and there, and eventually, perhaps right as you're nearing death, you could pop the overflow and gain a second wind. That honestly sounds quite exhilarating. It would also give you a fun incentive to start healing as soon as you entered a boss arena, even if you're already at full health, since you're just charging up healing for later. Just two quick things on that. First, how many charges you would need for the bar to overflow is, again, a question of balance. If you think the synergy sounds too broken, just consider that the bar could take ages to fill up, and you might not even get to do it before the boss kills you. And second, the bar should empty itself when you start a boss fight. That stops you from being able to save up a full overflow before combat even begins. I think that's enough on that synergy. I know it got a little crazy there for a moment, but that's just where my mind goes when we start to really get into the weeds. And while I'm still highly critical of simply introducing synergies willy-nilly, being cautious and deliberately using them to fix bad charm combos actually makes them a really neat balancing tool. Go figure. Thanks for watching, and thanks for pushing me to make this video. It was actually quite a lot of fun. I'd love to hear what synergies you can come up with. I actually found it pretty hard to make good ones that only support weaker charm combos. Remember to subscribe for the content week. New videos dropping every day for the next 5 days. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.